Now, we're getting some lines out of Israel where the chief of armed forces are suggesting that some fuel could be heading to Gaza. Alan Fisher is in occupied East Jerusalem. Alan, what do you know about possible fuel into Gaza? Because until right now, Israel has always said no fuel goes to the Strip.
Well, the Israel Army Chief of Staff, he's essentially the country's top soldier, has said that they've been hearing for a week that the hospitals in Gaza are about to run out of fuel, but they are monitoring the situation, even though we're hearing from people on the ground that say the hospitals have run out of fuel. Well, he said there is now the possibility that some fuel may be brought in, but it will be monitored and need to make sure that it doesn't get to Hamas. Quite how that will happen, we're not entirely sure. And we know that as there has been aid going in, one of the things that they have asked for is fuel, and that simply hasn't happened. Now, on top of that, we're also hearing from the Israeli ambassador to Germany, who is saying that Israel is asking foreign countries if they could provide hospital ships to help treat those that are being injured in Gaza. The intention would be that they would dock near an Egyptian port and those being injured would be taken there. Now, we know the French last week sent in a naval ship which was to back up those who are currently injured in Gaza. And other countries may well look at this as a possibility. We know the US will soon have two very large aircraft carriers in the region. One is already here. And of course, they're equipped with the most up-to-date medical facilities, including the most up-to-date operating theatres. So that could be a possibility as well. But it looks as if the Israelis are aware of the situation with the hospitals in Gaza. They say they're monitoring the situation, but those in Gaza are already saying that it has to happen now rather than in a couple of days when any kind of mechanism to allow this to happen actually happens.
Alan, there's a new round of on-the-ground diplomacy that begins tomorrow, American diplomacy that begins tomorrow, because the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is going to Israel. He'll be meeting with other regional leaders. Hamas has actually just released a statement talking about an idea. They're responding to this idea that's been floated by the U.S., amongst others, that perhaps some kind of international presence, international force could move into Gaza to pacify the region. It's all, I mean, no details on what this might be. It's all very murky at the moment. But this has been floated of an international force in Gaza after the Israeli troops eventually pull out. This is part of the Hamas quote, and I'd like your response on this afterwards, because obviously it's going to impact Blinken's visit. They say, quote, "The White House's statements about talks on the international and regional levels to rule the Gaza Strip after the end of the terrorist aggression on Gaza are rude and unacceptable, as the Free Palestinian people cannot accept any form of trusteeship." Your thoughts, Alan?
Well, Antony Blinken is coming here. Of course, he spent a lot of time in the region, 8 days back in the middle of October before the ground war was actually launched. His intention is that he will visit Jordan. We're told that there's a distinct possibility that he will go to Ankara as well. But his talks here will be significant. We are told by the State Department in Washington that one of the things he's going to talk about is what Israel's next military goal is in Gaza. And now we know he's not going to call for a ceasefire, because he already said on Capitol Hill when he was giving evidence a couple of days ago that that would be a win for Hamas. That would benefit Hamas. So he didn't see the benefit of that at all. But he also talked about the possibility of an enhanced Palestinian Authority being in charge in Gaza the day after. And we know that the Israelis are planning for the day after Hamas falls, as they are describing it. But Hamas has been very critical of Antony Blinken, saying essentially, look, he's saying that they will come in and they will support this interim measure rather than listen to the people in Gaza itself. Now, if you add that to the fact that the Bahrain legislature today decided that it wanted to recall their ambassador to Israel and essentially say the Israeli ambassador there was not welcome. Now, that hasn't been confirmed by the government or by the king, but it shows the level of upset across the region, not just with Israel because of what is happening in Gaza, but also with the United States, because many people see them as supporting Israel and not calling for that ceasefire.
Alan Fisher reporting from occupied East Jerusalem. Thank you very much for that, Alan.